Today, I sit down with Tom Hartman. Tom runs a podcast called Podjerky, which is a general discussion podcast basically about anything him and his co-hosts want to talk about. They cover everything from COVID to personal matters and musicians. So I thought it was a great idea to have Tom on the show and to get his perspective on a bunch of things. Tom is also one of the people who are running the Facebook group PodVcom. And this December, they're putting on a convention for podcasters, which I am proudly a part of. So without further ado, let's talk shop with Tom Hartman. Thank you for joining me today. My guest on today's show is Mr. Tom Hartman. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good, good. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm a big fan of your show. I love Podjerky. If anybody doesn't know, Tom runs a podcast called Podjerky, and it's a show that's basically about everything and anything that really interests Tom, and his wife is on the show. He covers topics from Corona to personal things like 2019 being a bad year, his dog passing away, and he has really intriguing episodes, and a lot of them are really heartfelt. I think, a lot of them really come from the heart, and it comes across that way, Tom. It's a great show.
Yeah, thank you.
So I guess one of the first questions I always ask people is, what really made you start podcasting?
It's actually funny. I was going through Amazon one day, and this was back in December of 2019, and I put a microphone in the cart, and my wife kind of looked at it and said, "What are you going to do with this?" And I said, "I have no idea. I have no clue what I'm going to do with this. It just looked cool." I said, I'm going to try some stuff with it. So I actually ordered it, got it in, and I sent a email to my buddy, and I said, "Hey, podcasting?" And that was the email. And he said, "Why the hell not?" So we looked at the mic and we were like, you know what, this is a piece of crap mic. Let's go and get some real mics and look into this a little bit further, because we have a lot of stories to tell from workplace and life experiences and all that. So I said, you know what, why not? And then Corona hit. And I think a lot of people started podcasting when the Corona hit. So it was just something to pass our time a little bit, because I think we officially launched at the end of March of 2020. So, I mean, a lot of people did the same thing, but we tried to go a little bit different. We didn't get like an actual niche market to it. We just kind of said, let's go about everything. And we've made some really, really cool connections.
Wow. Yeah. I started podcasting in February, like a month right before you. For us, it didn't really have anything to do with the quarantine or anything. We just figured, hey, let's just do it, but
yeah. But it was actually funny. We met in one of the podcast groups probably back in March.
Yeah.
And I think you had reached out to me as well, because your wife was going to start a podcast.
Yes.
And I'm not going to give away the name of that just in case she decides to do it again. But yeah. And then I think things fell through with that for the time being. But so you had reached out to me for that. So that was pretty cool. I thought that was a really good concept as well.
Yeah. And it's actually fortuitous for the both of us, because it's turned into this relationship that we have now. Because, I'm a part of the group that you have going on, PodVcon and PodVcom, so why don't you talk a little bit about that?
So we just started this group with a couple of other people, Russ, who you've already had on your show from Nick and Russ Don't Know Anything, and then Sarah from Blackbird and Advocacy Podcast. We decided to start this group just to build a community. We said, let's do this convention. And we said, we don't know what's going to come out of it. We're trying this convention, but we thought we were going to run into a lot of problems, and it ran so smoothly. We were so happy with it. Everyone was in, they did their spot. We went, I think a full 36 hours straight, something like that.
Wow. And
we had a bunch of panels. So it turned out really, really good. But then we said, I don't think we're doing enough in this group. I said we should, not myself, but the collective said, we'll open up some threads. We'll get people to do follows on Fridays, Taco Tuesdays. Every day has a different thread.
Yeah.
And then we were building towards our second convention, which is running in December.
Right.
And the response has just been overwhelming. And I think in the past month or so, we've actually gained about 700 to 800 new members in the group.
Yeah, it's taken off pretty well. I mean, I've been keeping tabs, and keeping an eye out, and it's turning out really well. The community is awesome in the group.
Yeah.
Everybody's there to really bring each other up and support each other, and it's really great.
Yeah, 100%. It's there are a lot of good people in that group, a lot of people that want to engage in the group, and that was the whole goal from the beginning. Is we want engagement, we want people to help each other. If you have something that will benefit somebody else, great, you can help them out. If we have something, we'll help you out. It's just a community, and that's what you do in a community.
Yeah, I remember when you guys ran the first convention online a couple months ago. And I was watching a lot of the panels, and you were on live like 24/7.
I was. I didn't sleep for 36 hours straight. And we did run into issues where people didn't show up. So we had to fill that time. This time we're better prepared for it. We do have a waiting list. We do have recorded episodes that we're going to play in place of, because we literally at the drop of a hat had to jump on to fill that time if somebody didn't show up. So it would be me messaging Sarah and say, Sarah, let's go. We're going to jump on right now. Or Russ messaging me and say, let's go. We got to jump on. We got to fill this dead space, because you didn't want it to look unprofessional. So that's why I got onto so many of those panels, because there was, if you didn't have somebody that showed up, you had to fill it.
It was great because me watching it just as a part of the audience, it was inspiring. It was really cool. It made me want to kind of do that kind of thing, and I guess it's what made me apply to December's convention that you got coming up. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I really do. So when you started the whole convention, is that when really you did your first live stream, or did you do it beforehand? How did you make that move into live streaming?
No, so I did a couple of live audio streams. We didn't do video stream before, but we had done an audio stream before. Not going to mention names of who I did it with, but we did the convention. We found StreamYard. And we were just looking for a actual program that you can actually run stuff to Facebook, because we tried different ways. We tried Facebook Live, and you couldn't do multiple guests. And then we tried, I think it was OBS was the other program that we tried to do that. And it was very complicated to have to explain to people how to run it. We actually asked somebody to try OBS, and they couldn't get it going. And they were asking too many questions. We're like, you know what, we don't have time to actually have to help like 50 people out. Let's try and find something different. And we came up with StreamYard. So that ended up being, I think, my first live stream.
And were you nervous?
No, I don't. It doesn't bother me. Like, I don't get nervous a lot. I'm pretty social. I'm pretty outgoing. I don't have an issue with talking to people. Going live doesn't bother me.
That's cool, because, I know a lot of podcasters, they have a problem with that. They have a problem getting in front of the camera. They're comfortable right here behind the mic, so. Yeah,
and that's fine. I mean, that's for different people. Different people like the audio portion of it. Different people like the video portion of it. I have no problem either way.
So are you one of those types of podcasters that sits down and plans out every episode?
No, absolutely not. Not at all. I have another one tonight that I'm recording. And it was funny, over the time that we've done this podcast, we came into contact with a couple of Canadian music artists, and we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes with them. The guy that we're working with has just signed in a deal in the US, and he's got some new stuff coming out. And I've got one of his guys coming on tonight. And it's just going to be a shoot from the hip interview. It's not anything that I wrote down. There's not a lot of research that you can do on him. Even if you look him up online, you're like, okay, one song comes up, but not a lot. But they're going to get big. So I just want to get him on and talk about how he got into music and, a whole bunch of stuff. But I won't go and do the research for it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's great, because you can take independent artists like that and put them on your show to give them a little bit more exposure, it's kind of the same premise as fellow podcasters, where you have other podcasters on your show. This whole platform, I think, is kind of just about helping people, and it's great.
Yeah, I think back when I started, I did a episode called Podcast Roundtable,
Mhm.
and that was one episode, and that was part one. It's still labeled part one, and I haven't even gotten to part two yet. But I ended up having four different podcasts on, and we
Wow.
just kind of sat there and shot the breeze about podcasting, and that was it. So I'm looking at doing part two. It's just the schedule has gotten so busy over the past few weeks that I haven't had any time to do it. So, I think this week we had 5 different shows booked. So I didn't have any time to get anything really scheduled in.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that leads into my next question: is has really quarantine or COVID affected your show in any way?
No, not at all. We usually do all of our interviews over Skype.
Hmm.
So we can call everybody. We can do video chat over that if we wanted to. You make connections in the groups. You can get a couple people on. We've made connections on Instagram and then had those people come on. I'll sit down with my wife and say, "Hey, I want to talk about this," and we'll just go on and talk about that. So my co-host, who doesn't give away his name, he's just master impressive.
Right.
He doesn't. He'll say like, "Hey, this is the topic I want to talk about," and we'll go on and we'll just talk about it. So for us, it's not a big deal. So I'm usually home from work this year, at least. I'm home from work around 2:15 to 2:45, and then I can go and record the rest of the night if I had to.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah,
Lucky.
yeah, yeah. Not a bad schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going through your episode list, I seen that you actually interviewed Jack O'Halloran.
I did.
As you can tell, I'm a big Superman fan, so
Yeah. Yeah.
how was that? How is do you think that there's a difference in the interview style that you do when you're doing celebrities opposed to other people, like regular people?
Yes and no, because you're kind of digging into their past as an actor or a singer or whatever it is. So you're trying to get out of them that information. And Jack was complete gentleman. He was fantastic. He was a great interview.
Mhm.
And he actually stayed on with us. I think it was an hour and a half. So we got some good interview out of him. When you're interviewing I guess a podcaster or just a friend or whatever it is, I think you're trying to have more fun with it.
Right.
You're more laid back with it because you understand the situation. You're trying to make them feel comfortable. Whereas these celebrities, they've done it a million times, so they're kind of just straight to the point and they just want to keep it going.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, usually most of the time they're on limited time anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, do you have like a favorite episode or a favorite topic that you'd like to talk about on the show?
I don't know. We kind of like doing some of the Netflix documentary reviews. We like talking about we're open to doing like the personal stuff.
Mhm.
And like you said, like the 2019 episode that we just had finished up. I didn't think that I was going to start crying in that episode, but I did. It was just brought back memories of what had happened throughout that year. But we're open to it, and I feel like it's a release as well for sometimes when you talk about those kind of subjects. And for us, it's a release, and it also offers help to people that might be going through certain situations that they might not know how to deal with. So I kind of tend to sway towards those episodes. But I also like doing the interview style episodes as well.
Right. Yeah. That last episode that you just dropped, it was very heartfelt. Like I said, and I commend you for getting so personal. I mean, it's such a great platform. I think to do that. Not many podcasters feel that they can do that. I think.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not we're not afraid to share our stories or the troubles that we've gone through. Like I said, we've had an episode on fertility and not being able to have children. We had the episode on like the whole kidney failure thing. We had a whole episode on that. And then we just kind of tied everything into one because 2019, we talked a little bit about it in previous episodes, but we didn't go into too much detail. And we just kind of wanted to share that story because not everybody knows exactly what's going on behind the scenes of everybody, right? You don't know me on a personal level, so you wouldn't know that that's happening. And then, you can talk and say, Tom's a happy guy or Tom's a guy that talks a lot. But deep down, you have all this feeling of, I got to get this off my chest. And, and it's a great platform to do it on a podcast.
It really is. So are you one of those kind of podcasters that like is obsessed with their stats?
No, I could care less. I really don't care. We actually started this to do it for fun. And I said, I'm never going to reach like Joe Rogan numbers. I really don't care about that. If I did, hey, fantastic.
Right.
But if I don't, it's not a big deal. I more like meeting new people and like-minded people and building relationships with them over what we're doing and learning all of this new stuff. Like right now, the program that you're running, I'm in awe of it. Like I'm just looking at the screen the whole time because it's great and it looks fantastic compared to like if I'm using an unpaid version of StreamYard,
right?
You know, it's kind of their overlays on the video. So this is the cool stuff that I like to do, and I'm always up for learning new stuff.
Yeah, I think with, you know, especially with vodcasting, you know, it's more experimentation with a lot of things. You know, you're always trying out new platforms, new software, and new things to do, you know, to build up your show. You know, and I love the little like trailers that you put together for your show. You know, and I see them all the time on Facebook, and I'm like, wow, it's kind of cinematic in a sense, you know, and it's really impressive, you know. So like it makes me want to kind of do the same thing, and I think all podcasters are kind of like looking at other shows to see what they're doing and how they're doing it. This way, maybe they can incorporate it into theirs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I even had another podcast ask me in a personal email and say, hey, do you mind if I take the ad exchange? Because I had ended up doing an ad exchange with her. Do you mind if I take this and share it with my actual Twitter followers or my podcast followers? And I was like, why are you asking me? Like, this isn't like, I didn't copyright this. I didn't, you know, this is fantastic that you're being polite enough to ask, but go right ahead and take it. Like, it's not my idea. I didn't come up with it. I'm not the first or last that's going to do it. Go ahead and take it. It's no big deal. But yeah, but that's the kind of stuff that you learn in the podcasting community, that there's little tricks that you can use that will actually help your podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you do everything yourself, or do you have somebody helping you?
So it's myself and my co-host. Most of the time, he is working on a lot of the editing portions of the audio episodes. I do, you know, it's pretty much 75-25 compared with the audio editing. I do most of the trailers and most of the like Instagram posts and the social media aspect of it. That's all me. He doesn't like social media at all. So we kind of split it up that way. I try to book the interviews. I try to get the episodes like scheduled. So it's a 50-50 split in the work. We kind of try and even out evenly so that we're doing the same amount of work.
Nice. That's great. That's great that it works out that way. So how's Canada this time of year? Cold?
Right now, yeah. Like today, I want to say, so I'm going to put it into Fahrenheit for you. I want to say it's about 45, 46 degrees right now. But tomorrow, tomorrow is going to be 70. So it's up and down, right? So like, yeah. So tomorrow's going to be really weird. Wow. It's not usually that warm in October, and then we'll get into the negative numbers by mid-November, December time. So,
wow,
that's when I like to stay inside. I'll do more podcasting then.
Oh man. All right, Tom. This is the end of the show, and I always like to end the show with my guest giving my audience one piece of advice about vodcasting. So do you have any advice on what to tell them?
Don't be shy. Just go out there and get it. Like it's I know some people tend to turn to being shy about it, but don't be shy about it. Just go out there, share cast, get on video. Let everybody see you. The more people that see you, the more people that know you, the more listeners you're going to get, the more audience engagement you're going to get. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Awesome. Great piece of advice, man. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Tom runs a show called Podjerky. If you are not listening to that show, you need to go to any podcasting platform and hit that subscribe button. You really got to listen to all of his episodes. You can check out his official website at podjerky.wixsite.com/podjerky. All of his shows are up there. You know, you could view some video and just dig a little deeper into Podjerky. Thank you very much, Tom, again, for coming on. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.